Hi guys, it's Sean. Hi guys. So I just got back home after watching Thor: The Dark World. As you can see by this title, this is in a sense it's a review, but it's also speculation for the future of the Marvel universe, at least the Marvel Cinema universe. So anyways, Thor 2 is great. It had a lot of comedy, it had a lot of action. Thor was being Thor, which was awesome. Um, it was really good. And there was the whole ether, right? Yeah, ether. There was that whole thing, the red stuff. Thor was just like, bam, no, fuck you. Um, Anyways, the movie was great, and if you get the chance, you should go see it. Not to say the word should, but you should go see it. There was this one particular scene that just made me die laughing. It's spoilers, um, but not really spoilers because you've seen the trailers, I'm assuming. But Thor breaks Loki out of prison and stuff, and they're walking down the hallway, and Loki just takes all these different forms to try and blend in. And one of the forms he takes is Captain America. It took me completely by surprise, but it was funny. God, it was like talking all about patriotism and how much he loves his country. It was Loki's a cheeky little shit. I'm not gonna lie. That was funny. That entire thing. Okay, so all in all, Thor was a great movie. It was a great movie. So on to speculation stuff. As you know, most of you know, anyways. I'm personally a huge Marvel fan. I love Marvel. I've only recently got into the comics, so I'm kind of new with the whole Marvel Now thing. It's still pretty new to me, but I'm getting really into it. So from what we know in the Marvel Cinema Universe, we have the first Avengers movie, which is all about Loki as the enemy. The second one, which we know is going to have Ultron, and the third one, which we know is going to have Thanos, most likely. It's not confirmed. Is it confirmed? I don't know, but they teased it at the end of Avengers 1, but whatever. But Ultron's going to be in the second movie. So, um, in between now, where we are in the Marvel timeline, we have Thor 2 that just came out, and within that timeline, we have the movies Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men: Days of Future Past, which I saw the trailer for, which looks really cool, and I'll get into that. And then we have Age of Ultron, or not Age of yeah Age of Ultron, whatever. Um, so after that we know we have Ant-Man, which is going to come right after Age of Ultron, which I think is weird because Ant-Man is the creator of Ultron, so that's a big thing. Um, but I'm not gonna worry about that because this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I read online why they chose not to have him develop it. I think maybe what they could have done is had an unnamed scientist develop Ultron, but then we learn in the next movie it's actually Ant-Man, and he's like, "Yeah, that was me. Whoops, sorry guys. Yeah, that was me." So, I got really excited at the end of Thor: The Dark World, mainly because of this one reason. Um, One thing, it was a great movie, but this is spoilers, but this is me explaining things and trying to make sense of all of this. So, um, these two people, the guy with the orange beard and the chick that originally Thor was gonna marry, and Owen's like, "You should marry her, man. You should marry her instead of Jane because she's a nice guardian." So they go to this guy called the Collector. Um, and with them they have this block, and there's like a red line going down the center of it, right? At first, I thought somehow it was Ultron. It was weird, but I was like, is that Ultron? That can't be Ultron. It's too small. But then, after they hand over the gem, he's like, yeah, we want you to hold on to it because we already have the Tesseract in our vault and another thing in our vault that we're not going to mention. So it's best to have this thing separate from those because if someone breaks into Asgard and steals the Tesseract again, we don't want them getting their hands on this. So, um, what the collector said at the very end, though, was what intrigued me. I'm still new to Marvel lore, but there's an event going on that's been explaining things for me. So, and also these guys named B3 Comics, they did a whole preview of everything that you needed to know before Age of Ultron or before Marvel Event Infinity. So, um, oh, my dogs are barking. Sky, no, Sky. Shh. Okay, sorry. Um, I might have to let them out really quick, but anyways, what was interesting is that he said, um, what did he say? One gym down, now we only have five more to go, something along those lines. And so, what interested me is that, okay, I'm gonna leave that for just a second. Excuse me, 1 second. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so where did I leave off? I believe I left off on the Infinity Gems. So, what's interesting about this is that the Infinity Gems, they've been around for a long time. And I just read the Wikipedia article on it, and it's pretty interesting. So, in the Marvel Comics lore, the Infinity Gems first were called the Soul Gems because they were pieces of a soul of this one chick named Nemesis who didn't want to live alone for eternity, so she ended up killing herself. But eventually, somehow her form got turned into these gems, and these gems are incredibly powerful. Even alone, they're pretty powerful from what I've seen and heard. But anyways, whatever. I'll let him bark. What's been going on is like fucking. What am I trying to say right now? Okay. So at the end of Thor 2, my mom tells me, "Yeah, they called them the Infinity Gems. Didn't you catch that?" I'm like, "No, I missed that." Um, but what they handed him was one of the Infinity Gems. It was the red one. I'm not too sure on the names because I'm lame. I just started reading Marvel comics, but that was one of the Infinity Gems, and pretty much um, the Infinity Gems are heavily tied with Thanos and Galactus and other people. Captain America has wielded it. Iron Man's wielded it. Thanos has had it. Galactus has had the Infinity Gems. Um, but all these Infinity Gems, they fit into a gauntlet, and with this gauntlet, you pretty much have infinite power in your own universe, right? Um, in this universe, you have infinite power. If you were, let's say, just for instance, that the Marvel movie universe were to go into the 616 universe, that's the main Marvel Comics universe, right? The Infinity Gems would lose all their power because they're outside of their universe. Um, so, anyways, what I find interesting is the progression of events in relation to the comics. So we have the Infinity Gems, right? They teased the Infinity Gems at the end of Thor 2. Um, Iron Man 3 didn't really do anything for us. It was just like Tony was just talking to the Hulk the entire time. He was like, "Yeah, that's my story. Now you know it." But so we have that. I was teasing that. Um, what else? Okay, so now another thing. In the Marvel comics, the 616 universe right now is there's been two recent events in the Marvel Comics universe. One titled Age of Ultron, fancy that, same name as the movie title, and the other one Infinity. I actually have the first two comics right here of Age of Ultron, right here. It's all shiny. It's nice. Um, and Infinity. Infinity is really good. Age of Ultron, I like it. Not a lot of people do, but it sets up Infinity pretty well. So, before I delve more into speculation, I'm just going to talk about these comic series. So, what happens in Age of Ultron is that, well, it has to do a lot with Ultron. And if you're not familiar with Ultron, he's basically like Skynet, but he came before Skynet, and he actually has a physical form. So, what happens is in Age of Ultron, everything's fucked, right? Everything is fucked. The entire world's pretty much destroyed. Ultron has control over everything. Um, and then someone gets the idea to go back in time and make sure that Ultron never existed, right? Right. So how do you do that? Well, you kill its creator. Um, so what happens is that Wolverine, and this is why it's interesting because of another thing we'll talk about later. Wolverine goes back in time against Cap's orders because he's like, no, don't do that. That's a bad idea, man. That is a bad idea. But Wolverine does it anyways, right? So Wolverine goes back in time with Invisible Woman, Susan Storm, but he doesn't know it at first. And Susan really kind of helps out morally in a sense. Um, but anyways, Wolverine he kills Hank Pym, and Ultron is never ever created. But if you count all the things that Ant-Man has done, both as Ant-Man and Giant Man and in the Avengers, it's not that good. It's actually, in a sense, it's worse off than it was if he created Ultron. So what happens is that Wolverine and Susan Storm they go back to the future. Everything's fine, right? And then they see new Avengers, and Tony Stark's all fucked up. I'm pretty sure Cap's dead. Um, and they lost the Midgardian War or something. It's another event. I'm not too knowledgeable on that subject, but they lost another event that they would have won if Giant Man was still alive. So a lot of people are dead because he's not alive. So they're like, wow, this is a worse future, honestly. So what they do, they go back in time again, and Wolverine's really fucking with the timeline right now. And he goes back in time to stop himself from killing Henry Pym, and that's an interesting thing to see. But so instead of killing him, what he does, spoiler alert, but this entire video is pretty much spoilers, is that he tells him to insert a code of data into original Ultron's original coding. One that when the specific time happens, Ultron will try and destroy it, but it's in his coding, and when he tries to destroy the other thing that Henry's going to do, he's going to activate the coding and it's going to shut him down before he can do anything. Does that make sense? I'm assuming it does. Oliver! Oliver! Sorry, they're crazy right now. But so there's that. Um, so what happens is that there's two Wolverines now, and there's one Susan Storm, and Henry Pym he does that to Ultron, but he has to make himself forget, otherwise events won't progress normally. You get another changed future, because with that knowledge, you'll probably change some things, and it'll fuck up the present. So what happens is that he makes himself forget, but he sends himself a video to be delivered right before Ultron gets reactivated at the very start of Age of Ultron, before the comics actually start. Um, so what happens is that there's two Wolverines now. The one Wolverine that originally went back in time, and then there was the other Wolverine right before he killed Hank Pym. So the one that originally came, he was like, man, I've seen two futures that are shitty. If one of us has to die, kill me. And Wolverine's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I'm sure. And so Wolverine kills the other Wolverine, and that happens. So in the end, what happens is that they both go to the present. Henry activates the coding, and Ultron tries to stop it, but um, he actually activates the other coding that's within inside himself, and it destroys him. So that happens. But as soon as that happens, like a few moments afterwards, the entire space-time continuum cracks because of Wolverine's abuse of the timeline, you know? So all of okay, I'm gonna bring in Doctor Who on this. Time is like a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff. It's not strictly cause and effect. See, the way I interpret that is that we have a single event, right? And from that event, more events spawn out of it, right? And you have a normal timeline, but think of that timeline on a great scale. You got things looping around into a giant circle of nonstop cause and effect, right? That's all fucked because Wolverine went back in time and did that. So, he's messing with the time sphere, man. So, this makes Earth very, very, very hated in the universe. Especially Thanos. Thanos is like, those Earth guys are at it again? Those motherfuckers are endangering us all. But Thanos is fucking crazy anyway, so it's not like that matters. But because of Wolverine's meddling in time, this causes an incursion point. Basically, what's happening is that the Ultimate Universe and the 616 Universe, like Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, the Ultimates, like which were the Avengers, and um, the Ultimate Universe is what eventually spawned the Marvel Comics universe, right? So what's happening is that there's an incursion point, right? There's an incursion point where these two worlds are like that, and one of them has to be destroyed. One universe has to be destroyed, or the other one, or they'll both die, right? So I haven't seen the end of Infinity yet. There's still one more comic to go in the main series, and there's all the tie-ins. Um, but that brings us to Infinity. Infinity. There's Thanos on the cover. He looks very sexy. I love you, Thanos. You're cool, but you're crazy as shit. So that brings us to Infinity, and basically what's happening is that the builders, which are like these, the creators of everything, pretty much, they're like gods, but not exactly gods. They created worlds, they've created races, they've created pretty much everything. And I'm not sure how that really fits in with the gods of Asgard, because there's conflicting lore I'm not too sure about, but let's just throw all of that logic away, and let's just say that the builders, they've created everything. So the builders, they're getting pretty pissed at Earth because they fucked up with the timeline. A lot of people are pissed at Earth because they fucked up with the timeline. The builder fleet attacks all these planets because a lot of these planets are rebelling against the builders because the builder's system is broken, like completely broken, and people want change, but the builders aren't having it. So this war is being fought on two fronts. There's the builder front and the Thanos front. Thanos brings the fight to Earth. The Avengers bring the fight to the builders. So what's happening is that so far the builders, they get destroyed, like completely and utterly destroyed, but not after like some pretty heavy fighting. Um, and then there's the whole Inhuman side, which is Black Bolts, and they're like mutants in a sense, but they're not. Their powers have to be activated, if that makes sense. It's like there's this thing called, I forget what it's called, but it's like a stone, and if you vibrate it a certain way or something, and it like activates their powers. And basically Thanos' son, his one, like Thanos killed all of his other children for in the name of death, like the physical incarnation of death. He killed all of his children, right? So he killed all of his children, and there's one more, and then there's Gamora, which is from the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'll get into. I might not get into, but yeah, she's there. I don't know why he's not going after Gamora too, but there's he's an Inhuman on Earth, and his powers haven't been activated. And because Black Bolt activated this one thing, which would activate all the Inhumans' DNA on Earth, um, Thanos, like pretty much, Thanos' son awakens, and pretty much everyone in there dies. Like everyone that's around him, he spends his life being a doctor, and everyone in there just dies. So there's that, and Thanos wants to kill him because I'm pretty sure it's because of death. Because he still wants Death's love, even though he's ignoring her. But whatever it is, he wants to kill his son. But I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but that's there. Anyways, the Avengers, they totally kick the Builders as his fleet, and there's only one planet that's remaining that's under the Builder control. Well, not Builder control, but not in their control, you know? And that's Earth. And because it was taken over by Thanos. So now all that remains is for the Avengers to take back Earth, which is going to happen in issue 6. So why am I telling you all of that? That's a big question. So if we look back at the Marvel movie universe, we have the first Avengers movie, which has Loki in it, right? And that was actually the very first comic in the Avengers. I actually have the Essential book, so I read it. I know what happens. Then we have Age of Ultron, which is coming up soon. And then we have Thanos, right? So, I'm not sure if Marvel's doing this on purpose. Like, they're purposely naming Age of Ultron out of the comics respect, and to show like that there's a tie, that's what's happening in the comic universe is going to happen in the movie universe, like, or somewhat similar to that. So how does Age of Ultron tie into the movieverse? Well, there's X-Men Days of Future Past, and I saw the trailer, and what happens in the trailer is that Charles Xavier is like, you have to go back in time and prevent this, prevent this war between us. And he's like, I was a different man back then. So he sends him back in time, and he's like talking to him, you know? So that sounds pretty familiar. Like in Age of Ultron, he's going back in time and, killing Hank Pym. So there's that. And he's going back in time. I don't know if they're somehow going to connect the X movies to Avengers. I mean, the X-Men movies have been around a lot longer than the Avenger movies. So I don't know if they're going to connect it somehow, or if they're just going to keep them separate. I don't know what's going to happen. I really hope that they do connect it, because that would be really cool. But and it's still the same cast, so it's not like they can say, the first 3 movies didn't count, and we're just going to forget about X-Men Origins Wolverine. So we're going to forget about that stuff. And button just came undone. Whoops. But I really hope that they connect it. If they do decide to connect the movies, then what happens in X-Men Days of Future Past could lead up to the events of Age of Ultron, which will cause Wolverine to repeatedly fuck up the timeline because he already started in X-Men Days of Future Past, which will then cause Thanos to be like, "Yep, I'm coming to Earth, looking for the Infinity Gems and for my son, and also because I hate Earth." He has a lot of reasons to come to Earth, and most of them are because of the Infinity Gems. Um, a subject I didn't even get onto. But there's a total of 6 Infinity Gems, and well, I touched on the Infinity Gems, but I didn't touch about Thanos wanting them. The Infinity Gems, most of them were destroyed except for the Time Infinity Gem, and Thanos has reason to believe that it's still on Earth. So that's another reason why he's coming to Earth. Um, anyways, this is just all food for thought. Maybe planning out what's gonna happen in the Marvel movie verse. This all spawned from the ending of Thor 2, where they give him one of the Infinity Gems. It's like, hey, take care of it, please. That'd be really great. Um, but I think that's what's going to happen. I could be totally wrong. This is all just my speculation. I really do hope that they combine the X movies to the Avenger movies, because that'd be sweet. I'd really like that a lot. Um, But anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this. I had a bit of a rough day, but it feels a lot better to talk about this stuff and make me happy again. So thank you guys. I love you all very much. And is there anything else I wanted to talk about? There was, but I forgot. But whatever. Anyways, thanks, guys. Later.